But we're going to move on now to a film that I don't think Fuzzy is as fond about or fond of as I am, and that is from the Wachowski siblings and Tom Tykwer, and this is Cloud Atlas, based on the novel by David Mitchell. So I'll go ahead and spin the trailer for that here.
People want the sauce.
All right, now if no one is familiar with the novel that this is based on, essentially, it opens with the story of the lawyer at sea in the 1850s or so. And, it then tells half of that story, and then it skips forward to half of Robert Frobisher's story, who is the amanuensis for the composer. Then it skips half of that story, and then it goes to Louisa Ray, half of that story, and then it goes to the publisher. And Tom Hanks' Dermot Haskins in this movie is absolutely amazing. I absolutely love him. And then from there, it goes to this, actually right here on the live stream. This is from Somi 451. This is a futuristic story about a corporate society. And then from there, in the middle of the novel, it tells the entire, like, after the end of the world kind of story with Tom Hanks as this goat farmer, and Halle Berry is this really futuristic person. And then the novel goes backwards chronologically through the story, so you end up back at the lawyer on the ship in 1851. And then what the Wachowskis and Tom Tykwer decided to do was they took the novel, and they deconstructed it. And what they decided to do, the key theme of the novel is this shooting star birthmark that every main character in each story has. But what they instead did is they took each of these characters and they put the same actor in different roles, which you see if you see in the trailer here, and it just kind of played them off of one another thematically. There's Tom Hanks as Dermot Haskins. Literally, there's no part of this movie that's greater than a bald Tom Hanks that's like, fuck it, and he throws a dude off the roof of a fucking building. So I'll just open this up. I absolutely love this film. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It's not perfect. It definitely is not, but I think in what it tried to do and what they were able to do in terms of the way they tie these characters together thematically, and especially skipping between all these time frames, these characters that aren't really connected but are in terms of destiny and things like that. I absolutely love it. I think it's fascinating. But Fuzzy, I think, has a little bit of a different take.
Hey, look, I had only seen this once before this last week. And yeah, it was the first time I saw it, it was jarring. It was confronting. I didn't know what to expect. Like, you're just looking at something and then all of a sudden it cuts away. It's a different scene. And it cuts away 2 seconds later. And it's quite confronting. It's really hard to keep up with the story. Like, if you're not expecting it, I think. So you have to really go in prepared for something, and you're sitting down. It's nearly 3 hours long.
It is about 2 hours and 50 minutes, I believe. Yeah.
It's very long.
And that is a long time to sit there and have like intense focus for the entire time. Yeah. So I kind of think that's where it lost it for me, because it's just you don't have time to ease into a story because you're already shifting onto something else. And I don't know. It's such a big, it took me 2 takes this week to watch it, even the second time around. So, it's just a lot to digest as part of an enjoyable movie. Yeah, but there are all of the pieces to it. All of the pieces to it are great, and I would actually like to see each of those as individual movies, because I think they would be quite amazing on their own, especially that the futuristic, what is it, Neo Soul?
Yeah,
which is clearly like Wachowski's going like AWOL. I love that. That was really cool.
Yeah, so the way that the way that it broke down in terms of directing duties, the Wachowskis did the 1850s, the guy on the boat, and they did the 2 futuristic sections. So they did Neo Soul and they did the Big Island, quote, after the fall. It's like 23 something, like, is the year in that. And then Tom Tykwer did the 1930s, the 1970s, and the present day. That's the way the directing duties broke down. I mean, they worked very closely together throughout pre-production and throughout post-production on the film, but those are the way the individual segments broke down. So you're absolutely correct. That, especially the Neo Soul stuff, it's definitely the most Wachowski-ish, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I would say so, for sure.
But Justin, I haven't heard from you on this yet, and I can't remember if you loved this movie or not, or if you even liked this movie or not.
No, I definitely like it. I own it. We've had this talk many times. Since then, I have watched it one more time and didn't walk away as enthused. However, the one thing that I give this thing as many points as I do for is ambition, because man, when you watch this thing, you just gotta think and realize on paper how hard this must have been for them to sit down and be like, okay, we're going to take this on. And they actually did it. And they did a pretty good job. I think mostly what people criticize it for is the fact that it took so much on and tried to jam pack it all in one movie. And it doesn't all work. I think it's a very interesting watch. I always get very intrigued every time I'm watching it, but I do agree with Fuzzy that it is kind of hard to follow at times. I find myself getting confused and just my brain just getting tired and wanting to shut off halfway through it. That I just have to continue to try to focus on this thing. It is a chore, to say the least. But the one thing that I love about it, outside of its ambition, is its visual aesthetic. I am a guy that loves when a film is so well shot. There's some wide shots that, even as you could see in that trailer there, it's just a beautiful looking movie. And it's very well acted too. I just think that it gets caught too much up in its ambition to really follow through with that ambition and give us and deliver us a cohesive film. It's got great parts, it's got great elements, and I do enjoy watching it for the most part, but it is way too long. And I can agree with you also, Fuzzy, that it'd be interesting to see this maybe cut in half, maybe if they did a second film.
Or like they actually did with the book, like where they, you did a full story and then you moved on. You did the first half and then like came back to it later. I think like the way they chopped it up, that must have been an absolute fucking nightmare to edit, by the way.
And I think
like it's just hacked up to pieces. So yeah,
the thing about it, and I actually had this discussion with Wes from the Via VHS podcast as well, because I've read the novel, and I don't know if either one of you have read the novel, but the novel is a tough read as well, because it starts out with that 1851, and Mitchell actually switches up the way he does his language, and he switches up his prose between the different segments. So the 1851 segment's got more of kind of an old-timey novel feel to it and whatnot, and it's written in sense of being a journal, and then it switches to the 1930s segment, and the stream must have hiccuped, but according to this, we're still up, so just let me know if that's still having trouble in a minute. And then it skips from there, and then it goes to basically letter writing in the 1930s, so it gets a little bit easier, and then, can anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, so I don't know. Yeah. The stream, I guess, is just kind of hiccuping or whatever. But then from there, you get to the 1970s, which is a very, very easy read. It kind of plays out like a mystery novel. And then you get to the 2012 segment with Cavendish, the publisher, and it plays out like kind of a comedic thing. It's really funny. And then it starts to get harder again when you get to the Neo Soul segment, because then it starts to change up language again, make it more futuristic. And the middle segment in it is incredibly difficult to read through, because the language is, he invents this whole kind of language where they speak, and the guys in the live chat are having fun with the true and all this stuff like that. The language in it's not nearly as bad in the movie as it is in the novel, but I would still love to see a cut of the movie that's done like the novel. But the novel, when you guys mentioned frustrations with it kind of cutting all over the place, the novel does that as well, where it's literally at the middle of the segment, and in a couple of them it's in mid-sentence it stops and goes to the next story, so it's very jarring as well. But I think that's kind of the intended effect, both with the film and with the novel. It's meant to be jarring because you're not meant to really focus on those kind of minutiae like that. It really wants to be a bigger themes and a bigger ideas story, either in both. And I just think, in terms of ambition, Justin mentioned that with the way that they took the novel and they cut it up, and then they just interspersed all the different timelines together, so they're telling all the different stories at once.
The scope on this thing is so huge.
Yeah.
It's just thinking about it, dude, makes me like nervous. You know what I mean? And that's what I was going to get to. The next point that I had was, there was no way that they were ever going to be able to market this thing. And I'm not sure if you recall or not, Nick, they didn't market it very well, if at all, because
I heard nothing about it until it was already out at the movies. So
the trailer
it was just one of those things. I was at the movies. It was there.
I'm actually refreshing the live stream over there right now. I do apologize, everyone. And yeah, this just, all it says is YouTube, but it says I'm still broadcasting. I'll tell you what, I'm going to stop and then restart OBS. Maybe that'll kind of... maybe that'll fix the hiccup. So I do apologize, everyone. Thank you very much for hanging with us here. YouTube's probably like, all right, enough of these fucking assholes talking. We've had enough of this shit.
Shut them down.
I do not know what the world's going on with that. But I mean, in terms of the film, though, you're absolutely right in terms of the marketing. They released that one like 6-minute trailer, which is the one that I've got playing in the live stream right now. And then that's what really actually I was so fascinated by it. That's what prompted me to go out and buy and read the book. And I absolutely loved it, but I can definitely understand when people are like, kind of disconnected from it because it's so much to take in. It really demands, I think, 3 viewings or 4 viewings because you really want to focus on 1 or 2 of the stories as you watch through. And then after you've watched it through a couple times, you start kind of connecting everything, But
how do you sell that to people? Like, oh yeah, our movie's great, but you got to watch it like 4 or 5 times before you actually understand it. Like, it's hard to get involved with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, there's just nothing else you can do. There's really not.
Modern viewers don't even want to have to think for themselves in movies anymore. That's why so many of these modern huge movies we see hit theaters every year are so literal. Everything is just spoon-fed to the audience, and that's something that frustrates both Nick and I.
There we go.
Are we back up now?
Looks like he's back.
All right.
I see you.
I think I know that YouTube has YouTube has a limit on like how long you can stream for, but I was pretty sure that limit I had been reading before that it was like 8 hours. So maybe we just hit that limit way earlier. Maybe it's not nearly as long as I thought it was. But yeah,
that's quality control, man.
Yeah,
quality control shut you down.
I don't know, but like I said, we're back. So maybe I'll just have to schedule a couple extra stream
resets.
We're
back. We're the man behind the mask, right. And we're out of control.
All right. So basically, we'll wrap up discussion here about Cloud Atlas. If anybody else has anything else they want to add about it, like I said, I absolutely love it. It's probably because I love the novel so much and because I love the ambition of it more that I'm kinder to it than some people are. But it definitely had that polarizing result when it came out as well. Some people like Roger Ebert gave it 4 out of 4 stars, but other people utterly despised it, hated it, and called it the worst movie of the year. So I mean, it's definitely one of those films that's super polarizing in terms of that. So, and yeah, thank you everybody.
I'll go back to what Justin was saying. I'll go back to what Justin was saying earlier about the how it looked, and the makeup in this movie is fucking incredible.
It is
like how they set everybody up, and that one of the favorite scenes for me is that last is the credits trailer at the end where they're going through all of the different roles that the characters are playing, and you can't pick them all. There's absolutely no way that you can pick all of the characters that these people played. So,
when I first watched the movie and saw that at the end of the movie, I was actually surprised because I was like, "Holy shit, that was that person!" Like you just don't realize how many, because some of them are such bit little parts too that you only barely see them. But it's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's a bit of a cheat, but
it is.
And Hugh Grant in this movie was pretty phenomenal, as when he was Jim Broadbent's older brother.
Oh yeah,
it absolutely incredible. Like he just like looked, like you couldn't tell it was him at all, and he was just I loved him. So yeah, the way this movie looks, and how they did that, how they pulled that off,
and how it sounds too. I really like the score to this film too. I very much appreciate it. I remember after the film came out, I downloaded it just to kind of live in that world a little bit because it definitely takes you to a different place when you listen to it, and it's one of those types of scores that really do just invest you in a different place, and I really appreciate that as well.
All right. Well, I think we will wrap up discussion on Cloud Atlas. Now, for our epic preview segment, I'm going to make this a little bit more freeform, and it's going to be a little bit more condensed. I'm going to try to wrap this up by 4 o'clock so we can make sure we get on to our everybody. Oh man, if they were in here, they'd kill me. The Everyone Has a Podcast segment. Adam and Brian are going to be on just bullshitting with us for that segment, which I can't wait for. So essentially, we're going to wrap over into our epic preview segments here. Fuzzy D, thank you very, very much for joining us for both movie soundtrack trivia, which you did dismally at.
That was fucking awful.
A for effort.
You definitely get an A for effort. Very big A for effort. If you want to hang out with us and discuss any of these trailers, feel free, but I'm not going to stop playing them just so there's not going to be any discussion in between when we're actually playing the trailers. So if anybody wants to jump in on Discord and discuss these trailers with us as we go through them, feel free. even though you guys can't see them at the same time that I am, so that's kind of a cheat, but whatever. All right. But we'll go ahead and wrap through this here. Thank you very much, everybody. And please, please, please share the link. Please help get the word out. I saw Juliet Miranda jumped into the chat. Thank you very much for sharing the link, Juliet. I definitely appreciate it. And for your donation earlier today. We're at about 30% of our goal, 31%, somewhere around there. So we got a little bit of ways to push here as we get further into the afternoon. Thank you very, very much, everybody. And on with the show. Justin, you keep quiet.
I will, but give me a few minutes, actually, okay?
Yeah, you're good.